You're here because you want to know how to survive boring meetings. My job is working with some of the top leaders and educators to design really engaging, connecting meetings. And so whether it's you're a participant and you need to survive the boring meetings that you're required to go to, or you're a leader and educator actually creating these gatherings, this video is for you. As we get rolling, I'm gonna unpack one super simple, ultra flexible method. I'm also gonna unpack 5 template questions that you can ruthlessly steal and apply to your own meetings the moment this video ends. So the moment this video ends, whether you have a meeting that is today or next week, or a recurring meeting that's happening every single Monday, you can immediately take these questions to make your meetings less boring. Let's get rolling. By the end of our time together, what is in my brain is going to be in your brain about how to survive really boring meetings. Let's go. I do think that nothing shapes our lives as much as the questions we ask, refuse to ask, or never dream of asking. Kind of a big quote for a video about how to survive virtual meetings. So let me tone that back a little bit and edit it to say, nothing shapes our meetings so much as the questions we ask, refuse to ask, or never even dream or think of asking. I would say that the life and the productivity and the energy of our meetings can be drastically impacted by the questions we ask in those meetings, by the questions we start off those meetings with, by the questions we ask throughout, by the questions we ask at the end to wrap up a meeting. Questions have a really profound way of shifting the dynamic of a meeting from a consumption model of let's all report out and soak in lots of data to more of a contribution model. Now, in this video, I'm going to share one simple method that I'm going to label connection to content. If you've seen any of the other videos on our channel, you know that we are really bought into the idea and love this concept of connection before content. But I think there's another step beyond that, which is how do we connect people to content and design for contribution, not just consumption. So in connection before content, it's gotta have 3 ingredients. It's gotta allow people to connect to each other. It has to connect to the purpose of why you're there. And it has to at least give people the option or choice for authenticity and vulnerability. For connection to content, I would say keeping those 3 ingredients would be great, especially the connection to purpose. And so the idea here is in a connection before content space, you might just be looking to connect to the human beings that are in that meeting. But if you've worked with a group and you've got recurring meetings that happen over and over again, it doesn't maybe make sense to do a connection activity at the beginning of every single meeting, right? Sometimes you just want to dive in to the meat of it. And by doing some connection to content, utilizing questions, really strategically formed questions, you can really turn that meeting on its head. And that boring meeting can become a meeting where people's ideas are sparked, their brains are woken up, they're leaning in a little bit more than they usually would, and that's really useful. So the tool that I use for connection before content is this deck of Wigi Connect cards, which you can access a digital version of for free in the link below. This set of 60 questions we specifically designed and refined over the course of 2 years to be a really good question set to help accelerate connection and trust building. Now, we made a really cool accidental discovery when we were, after actually we designed the deck. And the discovery was that every single one of the 60 questions is written in such a way that you can add context to the end of the question. So for example, what is something you would like to do more of at work, right? Did you see how adding at work completely changed that question? What is something you'd like to do more of at home? What is something you'd like to do more of when you finish this project? What is something you'd like to do more of once you retire? What is something, right? You can insert any phrase and it completely changes the question. And so there's a free digital version of all the questions so that you can just pull these off. You can turn them into virtual backgrounds if you're meeting virtually. You can print them off to use in person. And you can also get the deck actually shipped to your house. And there's a link for that as well. But I'm not here to sell card decks. I'm here to teach you how to do connection before how to do connection to content. The two kind of blend, right? So here are 5 template questions from the deck that I'm just gonna hold up and offer a few different ways or methods to use them to mix up the run-of-the-mill question. I'm also not the only one that uses these tools. While I created it actually originally just to use personally for myself, people started asking, ooh, where'd you get that? Ooh, that's really cool. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And now we order decks of WeConnect cards at the time of recording this video in batches of 10,000, and they're used in organizations and universities all over the world to create conversations that matter and skip past the small talk. In fact, this video is partially inspired by a question I got on LinkedIn this morning from Grace. And I'll put it up here and read it to you. But Grace came in, I asked her if she had any topic requests for videos, because she had said she was really appreciating watching the video series that I've been putting out, because I share videos quite regularly on the channel. And she said, I had told her that I was choosing grace as my word of the year, which is true. 2021 is themed around grace for me. And anyway, so she said, grace is a good word for 2021. I have a couple of teams that meet once a month, and we start with updates from each subgroup. Is there a way to use the WeConnect cards for sharing routine updates, or another way to shake up the standard process? A topic along those lines would be really helpful. Thanks. So this is where connection to content comes into place. This is where using these cards and these questions come into place. And so what I'm gonna do right now is go rapid fire across 5 questions and share 5 different suggestions or ways or methods to use these to weave into regular meetings to really create more participation and less sleeping. So the first one, Grace, I'm gonna speak to you as I do this. Thinking about subgroups reporting out, one of the really great ways that you can access a group's collective knowledge about a particular topic is to use this question. What is something you know really well, related to, and then insert your subgroup's content, something that relates to the purpose of why you're there. So it might become, what is something you know really well related to local broadband access in rural parts of Mississippi, right? It could be as specific as you need it to be. The point is, before you have a group spit out and report out a bunch of content, it could be really useful to access some prior knowledge in the group that you might not know about. And you can make this, really serious and content focused, or you can make this really light and playful as well, right? You could also do, what is something you know really well about doing report outs at meetings, right? The point is to get people into small groups and have a quick chat. This only has to go for 2 to 3 minutes, but the point is that everybody has spoken in small groups before the meeting actually begins. If you're meeting virtually, divide into breakouts. Even if there's only 8 of you on the call, divide into 4 breakouts of 2 or 3 breakouts of 3.5. The idea is that you want everybody to have used this device and these devices in small groups before any one group reports out to everybody. Part of the reason for that is when we speak, our brains turn on. When we speak, also our ears ironically open up. Whereas if we start a meeting and we don't participate until 30 minutes into the meeting, it's quite likely that our brain will be wondering all about the stuff that is going on in our life, and it's gonna be really hard to really hear any report outs from subgroups or small groups. All right, I'm gonna pick up the pace. Next one is really great thinking about using at a meeting of like a end of the quarter, end of the year, and asking the question, what is life teaching you right now? This is kind of a big question, right? What is life teaching you right now? But when you add context to it, it can all of a sudden become a nice, really focused mini question to spark some reflection. What is life teaching you right now about how to change what you're doing next quarter? You see how adding that context, all of a sudden, we're zooming into the next 90 days and able to pull learnings from the past and bring them into some created future. So one of my favorites, what is life teaching you right now? Third one is really great to do at the end of meetings. And it is, what is something you'd like to do more of? Specifically, check that word do out. Depending on why you're meeting, oftentimes I think the purpose of meetings should be to incite action in between other meetings, right? The purpose of meetings generally shouldn't be to have more meetings. The ideal situation is that you have a meeting, it sparks some sort of action, moves the organization forward, increases the impact that you're trying to create in the world. And so asking, what is something you'd like to do more of this week, is a really awesome thing to have people share out. And part of the reason for that is there's a ton of psychological research that says when we speak a goal or speak something out to a group publicly, we are 10 times more likely to actually go about it. 10 times more likely is not maybe research. I don't remember the exact stat or percentage. The point is when we declare our goals or what we're gonna do publicly, we're much more likely to actually follow through. And so inviting people to answer this question will actually increase the productivity and action that happens after that meeting, which I think most organizations, most leaders, most educators want more of that action stuff. Fourth one, and this is kind of breaking the connection to content rule, it's just connection before content. What are people usually surprised to find out about you? Starting off a meeting with the surprise and the goal of actually, and even if you just have this question answered in the chat on a Zoom meeting, right? Inviting your colleagues to scroll up and find something they didn't already know about each other and unmute and ask a question about it, or follow up with their curiosity afterward, or it just becomes something in the back of the brain the next time they're on a one-on-one they can talk about. The point is to kick off and start your meeting with a little bit of surprise, because that emotion in the brain is like a bloop on switch, right? It wakes us up from whatever lull we've been in, whether we've been binge watching Netflix before or whether we've just had 3 meetings prior. Adding a smidge of novelty in the form of a surprise can be really useful. The fifth one is for my critics and curmudgeons in the room. So these are the people that are like just kind of living in a perpetual state of crankiness, that nothing you say or do in a meeting is gonna make them light up. People generally, especially sometimes critics and curmudgeons, love to give advice, right? We love to become doctors and pharmacists and prescribe out advice. So if you could give one piece of advice to a large group of people, what would that advice be? Now, I would tailor this specifically to the content of why you're meeting. So I'd be thinking about what advice based on what we just talked about. So this might be a really good thing after a brainstorm or right before everybody goes off and implements a strategic plan or something. What advice would you give to a large group of people? It's a really great way to invite people's contribution. It likely will create a bunch of useful answers that will uplift people. And if it doesn't, you might save yourself a lot of headache, right? If somebody says, my best advice to this group of people is to not do all this extra work. It's not gonna bring the level of impact that you're hoping, and it's gonna be way more effort than reward. That would be really good advice that an organization would benefit from knowing, and it won't come out if you don't ask the question. Now, if you wanna take this momentum into unpacking how to make virtual meetings fun and online learning fun, you might wanna check out this video. It's super short, it's punchy, offers a little bit of inspiration for making your meetings more connecting and engaging. I am Chad Littlefield. You can get the deck or any of our tools at the links below. Lovely hanging out in cyberspace and sharing some brain space. Have an awesome day.